I often get asked by CAP students, how can I best prepare for CAP? What should I study or read? And while I think it is important to review the nursing foundation concepts like wound dressing or drug calculations, I also think it's important to familiarize ourselves with the domains of competencies for nurses in New Zealand because that will be helpful in completing the Competence Assessment Form. Details up next. Hi, my name is Veronica. I create informative videos about nursing career and what it's like living here in New Zealand. If you find that topic interesting, then please consider subscribing. So, if you are an internationally qualified nurse and the Nursing Council of New Zealand asks you to complete a competence assessment program, you will be also asked to submit a competence assessment form. Completing this form is part of the process in order for you to gain registration as a registered nurse here in New Zealand. The first page of this document has the CAP student's details, hours completed in class and clinical placement, assessor's name and their details, program coordinator's name and details, and further comments. The following pages focus on the 4 domains of competence for registered nurses in New Zealand. Domain 1, Personal Responsibility. Domain 2, Management of Nursing Care. Domain 3, Interpersonal Relationship. Domain 4, Interprofessional Healthcare and Quality Improvement. The competencies in each domain have a number of key generic examples of competence performance called indicators. For example, Domain 1, Professional Responsibility, has 5 competencies. And as you can see in this slide, each competencies also have indicators. When I completed my CAP 8 years ago, our student nurse educator asked us to keep a record of our daily interactions with our patients and the clinical staff and reflect on how these interactions and nursing intervention can serve as an example or as evidence that we meet the domains of competence. After which, we also have a short conversation with our SNE about our examples, and they in turn provide supporting comments to prove that we did meet the competencies on each domains. For example, in providing evidence for Competency 1.1, it is not enough to say I am aware of the professional, ethical, and legal requirements such as Nursing Council of New Zealand Code of Conduct. I ensure I include this in my practice. It's not enough because it does not provide a description of how you as a nurse ensure that your practice meets this requirement. You actually need to explain how and provide further information. Doesn't have to be a novel. You just have to explain how this competency is embedded in your clinical practice. You can also use the specific indicators to anchor your specific evidence. So one way to structure your answer would be to write it as, while working in X ward, I ensured that I respected patient R's dignity and individuality by adding your specific example here as outlined in the New Zealand Nursing Code of Conduct Principle 1. You can also say, when I was looking after patient R, I also ensured that information collected were treated as confidential and were only used for professional purposes. You can cite an example here of your specific action as well, and just quote, following the Nursing Code of Conduct Principle 5. And because Competency 1.1 is all about professional, ethical, and relevant legislated requirements, you can also anchor specific legislations that you know of that affects your practice. Just make sure you provide a description of that specific scenario where you applied those knowledge into your clinical practice. At least that's what I did anyway. So, as you can see, providing specific examples to write on your competence assessment form can take time. That's why I think it'll be important to familiarize yourself with the domains of competencies so that once you are already in your clinical placement, subconsciously, you can think of these domains of competencies while interacting with your patients, with the staff members, and you'll be like, ooh, this will be a good example for my competence assessment form. And also, do remember that reflecting on your clinical experience, your clinical practice, is not only for CAP students. if you are completing a PDRP, if you are working in a DHB and you want to apply for Health Workforce New Zealand funding for a postgrad study, or if you are randomly audited by the Nursing Council, you will be asked to complete a similar form and reflect on your clinical practice and provide evidence that you meet each competencies. So if you want to read more about domains of competencies, this booklet is available in the Nursing Council website. It's 36 pages. Have a good read. There's also a Code of Conduct booklet that's 48 pages, and there's also Cultural Safety, which is 24 pages. If you enjoyed watching this video, please don't forget to hit like and subscribe. That will really help with my channel. As always, I wish you all the best with your journey and I hope you will be blessed. I'll see you soon. Bye!